Morning, everybody. No doubt there are more questions than we have answers for this morning, and we will get those answers to the citizens of our beautiful city in a short time. But our priority first is to take care of our people. We know we have people who are suffering because of loss of life and injuries and loss of property. As Mayor Golden mentioned, we took a tour this morning of the affected neighborhoods, and there is devastation everywhere. But one thing I love about this city, when there's a need, we rally around that need, and we had neighbor helping neighbor.
City. My name's Garrett Hagewood. I'm with CD Light Band. I've been with the department for 10 years full time. I'm a lineman in the operations department.
So my name is Jaden Matthews. I am a EMR at Clarksville Fire and Rescue Department, and I've been with the department for over 4 years.
My name is Tommy Jones. I've been with the city of Clarksville for 21 years, and I'm a captain with Clarksville Fire Rescue.
Can you tell us about your experience during the immediate response to the tornado and the days following?
So on the immediate response, I was stationed at Station 6. I was District 2 that day. And like EMR Matthew said, we were able to watch the tornado as it came across Woodlawn and into the city of Clarksville.
We were first due. The tornado that hit out there, Station 6, is right down the road. So we actually watched the tornado form and kind of roll through the area. The initial response was pretty chaotic, obviously. There was a lot of people around, a lot of people parked, and until we got to where the tornado hit, we didn't really realize quite how serious it was. The following days were still fairly chaotic. We went out to that area a couple times, but thankfully all the major damage and major issues were kind of handled and taken care of.
I was the lineman on call that day. I got a phone call that afternoon from somebody in our operations department to go ahead and prepare and head on into the office. Well, about halfway there, I got a phone call again that we had lost a substation breaker on the north side of town. So I started heading in that direction, headed towards Fort Campbell Boulevard, and when I got off the off-ramp at Fort Campbell Boulevard and 101st, I could see it. It was coming across through Britton Springs, crossing Fort Campbell Boulevard, and across through Luigi's and everything.
You could see the tornado.
Yeah, I seen it. And it was scary, but at the same time, I had this adrenaline rush come over me. And I was sitting in the old grandpa's parking lot when it came through. And I immediately rushed up there as soon as I felt safe to get up there. When I arrived, it was devastating.
We were initially dispatched to a house that had collapsed on top of a woman and was trapped. And so we were en route to that. And I hadn't really realized the magnitude of what it was that we were going to. I just thought it was just, okay, we got some strong winds and knocked a house down, and we're fixing to go get this lady out of it. As I was approaching 101st and Fort Campbell Boulevard, there was multiple vehicles that had crashed into each other. And at that point, I still hadn't realized that, oh, this is from the storm. I thought it was from me approaching the intersection with lights and sirens on. And I called that in over the radio, and it wasn't until I got to Britton Springs and Fort Campbell Boulevard that I realized how much devastation there actually was. The road was blocked to where I couldn't get to Britton Springs because of storm damage. There was a roof laying in the middle of the road, multiple trees and power lines down. So I turned around and tried to go a different direction, went down Eva Drive. I got stopped there, had to turn back around, and ended up on Evans Road before I could go any further. And I stopped there and set up a command post, and that was where we started our base of operations to start helping people.
Can you tell us about your work the following days and the department's work?
It was very strenuous, like it was said before. We were getting dispatched all over the place. It was so chaotic the first few hours that the storm came through. It took time for, I think, all departments to actually settle and know what needed to be done and where we needed to begin. It was just a very chaotic first few hours.
What were some of the challenges your team faced during the response?
I think probably one of the biggest challenges we faced was getting where we needed to go. Just having to divert around situations, cars, houses, people, just trying to get to where we needed to go was probably the biggest challenge we faced.
So for me personally, and I think some of the other guys that were out there with us, pretty much our whole department went out to that area that got affected, was keeping track of my location and where I was, because we kept having calls come in with addresses when we were out in that area, but my cell service wasn't working and my phone was also in my gear, so I couldn't really use it. So all the street signs and crossroads and everything were down. So hearing a call come in for someone trapped and trying to figure out where that was probably the biggest challenge we faced.
The biggest challenge was the overwhelming amount of calls that came in a short period of time. Within just a few minutes of that first call, we had dispatched almost the entire city to a pretty small geographical location in regards to how much territory we actually cover. And we immediately began calling in off-duty personnel because we were overwhelmed. Within a few minutes of arriving on Evans Road, I asked dispatch for an ambulance, and the response back was there were none, because they were just as overwhelmed as we were.
Can you react or respond to the role of volunteers in the response after that day?
So, especially with where the tornado first came through, coming out of the county into the city, they were absolutely critical in helping us search residences and clear neighborhoods, looking for victims and patients and hazards to some of the stuff that we were going through. I had a representative from County Fire come up to me on Evans Road, and he had a laptop showing where all of his county units were at, and we were able to work together to start coordinating searches of the neighborhoods that were hit.
I would say the most positive thing that came out of that was just the effect of the community and the strength that we showed coming together afterwards and during. There was a lot of people with personal equipment, backhoes and bobcats and stuff that showed up that aren't a part of the city and just started to help clear, people with chainsaws, things of that nature. So people really came together. And there's a lot of military people that showed up or were in the area already that were helping by loading people up in their cars or just helping us pull people out, marking things for us, telling us, hey, you got someone in the house down here that needs to be checked out, things of that nature.
Off-duty military personnel were extremely helpful as well. They were quick to take assignments. A lot of them showed up with personal first aid kits, and we were able to pair them with firefighters and go door to door, and they assisted with removing of people out of houses, and some of them were putting patients in the back of trucks and taking them off to the hospital, and so they were absolutely critical and helpful.
I think we're blessed as a community to have the military in Clarksville. Just imagining not the help, we received from the military not being there. It could have taken longer. It'll kind of tug at your heartstrings to see people come together for other people that are strangers to them. It's a beautiful thing to know that there's still genuine people out there in the world and in the community.
Is there anything positive or hopeful you can take away from that day and the days following?
I think the biggest thing is that it showed how well that we can work with all these other agencies. And we may not train with them all the time, but we train with them enough to where we're familiar. And when something severe happens, we were able to seamlessly integrate together to work towards common goals.
What can we learn as a city from this experience?
I would say to take weather seriously. We're not invincible. So when those warnings and watches pop up, be weather aware, as the news says. Keep an eye out for what's going on and how things are changing. Because that tornado, thankfully, was during the day and not at night. So I think a lot of people kind of had a heads up. But if something like that were to happen in the middle of the night, I think the turnout would be a little bit more disastrous. So just keep an eye out for the weather.
the biggest thing is preparation. I think that we do an extremely good job, given the nature of what we had, the manner in which we responded, how fast we were able to provide assistance, how fast we were able to stand up shelters, secure food, secure water, get people the aid and treatment that they needed. I mean, I know that we're still recovering a year later, but we've done a lot of good in a short period of time.
All right. Probably the biggest thing that I could say to help prepare would, watch your local weather. Watch your local weather. They always predict kind of a path or a general area where they predict the storm to be. If you can get out of there, get out.
So the biggest advice that I would give is to pay attention to the weather, to local forecast, to have a go bag packed with some essential things just that they can have on them in the event that they are out of a house or find themselves unable to get back home without power or water or food, where it can sustain them for a short period of time until those services can be stood up to help them for the long term.
I think the biggest thing that the city can take from this experience is live for today. You never know what's going to come tomorrow. Be prepared, but live for today.